I love what I do. I love, the students. I love making a difference in their life. I love when they come over and say, hey, Miss Toni, how you doing? Sometimes I get little notes from someone say, I stopped by to say hi, how are you, Miss Toni, or whatever it may be. And so, yeah, you've made lifelong friends. You've made a difference for people.
Toni Munguia, where did you go to college?
Actually, I started college at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. That's where I met my husband. I was a 18-year-old freshman and, first time away from home. It was a good place. But met my husband, ended up getting married. We met in calculus class. It was really cool.
Did you pay attention in calculus class after
no.
you met him?
No. No, not really. We have a really cool story of how we met. But anyway, I met him in calculus class, and actually I met him at the Latino Cultural Center, now that I think about it. They were having some kind of party, the New Student Week, the first week before classes started. And he came and he acted like he knew me, and I didn't know him. And
smooth.
Yeah, the kids call him the stalker because he knew my name and where I lived, and because he had seen me somewhere else before. But he said to his friends that he was going to go out with me, and what he did is he went back to his room and he started looking for my name and address and everything. But he didn't know who I was. He went to the directory, and at that time it was a paper little book. It had probably 30,000 names on it because we went to the University of Illinois. And then he started looking for Hispanic Latino names, and he came to Antonia Hernandez, and he said, that's her. And he sticks to this story to this day. He memorized where I lived and my phone number and my name and closed the book. I could have been a Martinez or a Zamora or something else, but no, when he said he came to Antonia Hernandez, he said, that's her. And he closed the book. And then we met at the Latino Cultural Center, and he acted like he knew me, and I didn't know him. I didn't remember I had said hello to him. Anyway, long story short, we ended up talking. We had calculus class together, and the rest is history. We ended up getting married, and he finished. He had a mechanical engineering degree, and I guess I got my MRS at that time. But two or three kids later, my husband was working for Caterpillar, and then he was transferred here to the West Lafayette area. And
so that's what brought you to Purdue.
Exactly. And when I saw Purdue, I thought, I can finish. And so my kids were in middle school and even high school, and I went back to school. And the rest is history. I started taking classes and got my bachelor's degree. And then after I worked for a little while, then I went back and even got my master's degree, all here. The bachelor's I got at the time when it was Consumer and Family Sciences, and my master's degree I got in Polytechnic in organizational leadership.
So the moral of the story is, go to the Latino Cultural Center.
Yeah, sure. That would be a great place. Yeah, that has really good memories for me, the one at U of I, and actually the one here is a really good place too. It's a home away from home for our students, so it's kind of nice.
When I first started working for Purdue,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything about the university, about the Polytechnic. I remember I had to write an email that came from your department. And I asked you, what is the Office of Recruitment, Retention, and Diversity? And you said, we help students navigate their path to and through Purdue. And that was so perfect.
Thanks.
That we use it in the emails that we send to students who we want to come to the Polytechnic. And we even include your photo. There you are.
Thanks.
So in a way, students have already met you before they have gotten here. What's that like?
It's cool, but it's kind of scary sometimes because they know who you are, and they'll say, hi, Miss Munguia, or hi, Toni. And I see so many students and so many people that sometimes I feel bad that I don't know their names. So, but it is kind of nice. It is nice that they know who I am. And I like to be that kind of person, I guess, that gives information or helps guide them and give them kind of direction. Because this is really key time in their life, This is I've said this many times before to students. They are in a critical crossroad in their life. They've left mom and dad for the very first time, and they're trying to make their own path. And mom and dad are not here, and so that I can be kind of a little bit of a helper in helping them navigate that path or those crossroads is kind of cool. It's kind of nice. My kids are all grown and gone, and so it's like having kids again, and so it's nice.
I like that, guidance and direction, because when you look at at your title or the name of your team, the first word is recruiting, and so I think that someone who doesn't know what the job is about might think your job is to be a salesperson. You're going to sell Purdue to high school students and sell our product and their customers.
Yeah.
And sure, that's part of it, but I really like that because this is how we have always known you working together. Your job is guidance and direction for these fresh, young, newly independent minds.
Yes, yes. And it is. Many times, I don't know if this is what I want to do, Well, let's take a class or two. Let's see if this is. You can always change your major. And we get so many students from across campus changing, deciding, I'm not sure that this is where I'm at. Or even from exploratory studies coming in to kind of check and see what we're all about. So it's kind of nice. Yeah.
Speaking of classes, you teach a class called Tech 101.
Yes, exploring the possibilities. It's Tech 101, Women in Technology, Exploring the Possibilities. It's a freshman class. It's kind of associated with our Women in Technology learning community. And so this year I had 50 freshmen, basically. I think we have a couple of transfer students every once in a while as well. And in this class, we talk about ways to succeed as a female in technology, in the Polytechnic, and in the real world, being a woman in STEM. So we have lots of different alumni that come back and share their story. I try to make it a nice blend of younger females who have just graduated, recent alum, and they're kind of fresh in their careers, and they're talking about some of the things that they're doing and some of the things that they're experiencing, as well as very, you might say, professional, seasoned women who are vice presidents or presidents of their companies, and it gives the young women a really good array of different types of women and how they've gotten to where they're at and how they are navigating their world. And so it's kind of cool. We also talk about gender communication. The way men and women communicate is different, and for the first time in these girls' lives, they're a big minority in their class. If they're lucky, they might have 3 or 4 girls. Sometimes they're only one of them, or maybe there's only one in their lab. And so they have to know how to communicate with the guys and make sure they're getting enough attention to the material and getting the experiences in the labs, whether it's tinkering time or whatever it may be, and how to communicate and learn how the men communicate and how they should communicate and understand their communication. If that made any sense. Because we do communicate differently. There's lots of studies out there that have been done on male and female communication, and so I want to make sure that they understand and that they don't misunderstand what the guys are doing or saying, because sometimes that happens.
Can you give us an example of that? How a man would communicate versus how a woman would?
I'm trying to think. Men, if I remember correctly, men tend to bounce around from subject to subject. There's certain topics that they like to discuss, and I can't remember if it's like business and sports and then more personal things, where women like to talk more of the personal, and they like to stay on one subject and kind of go with that subject for a while until it's exhausted kind of thing, and the men are opposite. So sometimes our girls would say, but they're not listening to me, or they didn't like my idea, when it was just time to move to another idea because they already heard their idea. So they just kind of bounce around, and so they need to just kind of bring their idea back or make sure that their idea is incorporated. But So those are some of the differences when they're communicating.
We heard a statistic, and I guess we'll ask you to verify, that students who attend your seminar, your course, are more likely to stay in our college and finish their degree than students who don't. Is that right?
Yeah.
And why is that?
I don't know exactly why, but I have a guess of some of the different reasons. There is a sense of community right from the start. The women get together. They have to do, besides, having the guest speakers, they have to, do a resume writing. They have someone from CCO come in and do a resume writing workshop. They have to go and meet with a female professor in their department. So they connect with a female faculty member right away from the start. There's certain questions that they ask, but that's part of one of their assignments. It's called a professor visitation. Another thing is I want all my women to have a Witty Sisters mentor. So we partner with the Women in Technology Student Organization, and I ask the students in my class to sign up to be a mentee. And so then the Witty Sisters mentors are paired up with someone in my class. So I think it's a combination of lots of different things. They've got a mentor. They're meeting faculty members in their department, other females that have been successful and that they can connect with, other ladies in their major. One of the assignments in my class is picking a company from the top 100 companies in Working Mothers magazine. And so there's usually a group of them, and I try to pair them up according to their majors. So they select one of these companies that are in the top 100, companies for working mothers. And they have to find out about the company's core values. They have to find out about, the core business, why working mothers selected them, why they would want to work there or not work there. They find out about, the leadership in this company, all sorts of different things. But the young women have to get together, and discuss, and they become friends, and then a lot of them also live in the learning community, and so that's kind of a really good way for them to get to know each other. So like I said before, there's lots of different reasons that maybe they are being retained. They're connecting with faculty, they're connecting with peers, they're connecting with upperclassmen, and then as part of the learning community, I also have lots of activities that we do with them. So we try to do at least one activity a week, try to have lunch with them once a week. We have them come over. We went to Exploration Acres. We, go to a play or a convocations event. So we have all sorts of different activities. We went to the music show this year, and again, it builds that community and gives them that sense of belonging, because I think that's really key is they feel like, yes, Purdue is a place for them and they belong here. I think last year's class, 97% of the students in the class were retained, of the females. When I compared to the students or the females that weren't in my class, only 88%.
And just so that our listener understands, by retained you mean stayed in the college?
For 1 year after.
Okay.
Yeah, after they came back for their second year. So that was that first year retention.
Young men can take that class as well, yes?
Oh, yes, men can take the class. And I've had young men in the class in the past, one or two. I remember one particularly several years ago. Purdue was it was filled and there was no housing available, but I always reserve one room or one room for a male in case they want to be part. And so we had in the male side one room reserved. And so I had a young man, I think it was his advisor, who said, I think Women in Technology has a room available, so if you want to join the learning community. And at first he was like, but he did. He signed up for it, and then he ended up coming through one of our programs, the STEM Academic Boot Camp, and he said, Miss Toni, I don't want to go to that class. I says, after the first week, I think you're fine. Once you're here, they can't kick you out of your res hall. So if you don't want to be part of the class or you feel uncomfortable, you can drop it. It's okay. And anyway, he ended up coming to the class, And he ended up loving it because, you know, he was able also to share his perspective. I still remember when we did like the gender communication, we talked about how men and women communicate, and we talked about tendencies and stereotypes and those types of things. And so he was kind of able to give his perspective, which was kind of nice, and it was helpful. And like I said, he ended up staying in the class the entire year. But I've had others, sometimes I've had 2 or 3 males in I think, no, the most I've ever had is 2 males in the class. So yeah, it's okay if they come.
Is there a one most typical question that you get from students, whether they're prospective students or current students? And I don't mean a question about logistics of college, like, okay, how much is tuition, or how many credit hours do I need for this, or the like. But I mean a question that draws on your experience and your wisdom.
Oh, that's a good question. Question that I get asked.
Something repeatedly that you get asked that you find every time a challenge to answer because it's drawing from inside. It's not just a factual question.
What is your most memorable question that anyone's ever asked you, or unusual?
Yeah, see, the things that come to mind first are, you know, what is the Polytechnic, or why the Polytechnic, or...
Well, how do you answer those questions?
I'm always explaining that we're part of Purdue, we're one of the colleges here. You know, we have 6 departments, 33 majors, and we have a great payoff for our students. You know, they're finding you know, great jobs and things like that. So a lot of the things that I talk about is the way you learn, the experiences, and the payoff. And I think the experiences are key too, because I think in the Polytechnic we do a really nice job of making sure that our students are connected to their faculty, to the college. I mean, every year we give them an I'm a Techie shirt that you guys all participate in. And so that right away, you know, makes them part of this Techie family. And so those are kind of neat things, or I think ways to help them know that they're connected to us. Now, the question that you ask, difficult things, sometimes parents are concerned. You know, are their students going to be successful? You know, or is my student going to be safe? You know, or is my student... And that sometimes is difficult because we can't see their student 24/7. And this is, again, like I said before, a time where they're learning and they're experiencing kind of things for themselves. And so, you know, we let them know, though, that there's lots of resources, that our doors are always open, and that if their students ever need anything, you know, that we're here for them. And I think that's one that makes me feel good. And I let them know, especially parents. There are some parents that you connect with more because they call you over and over again, and they're just wanting to know, you know, is this the right place for their child? And so you get to know the students, and then the students feel comfortable with you, and then they come in and visit and that kind of stuff, which is nice. But I try, and I think Ryan and everyone, and Cindy and Kathy try in our office to make the students and the parents know that we're available to them no matter what. But we also have great advisors here in the college as well that I think our students can turn to and help them with what everyday kind of issues as well. So, yeah.
Our guest is Toni Munguia, Director of Recruitment, Retention, and Diversity here in Purdue Polytechnic. And Toni, last year you were the recipient of Purdue's Martin Luther King Jr. Dreamer Award. I want to make sure I read the description correctly. Presented annually to individuals or organizations within the Purdue community whose contributions embody Dr. King's vision of service to others and furthers the university's commitment to diversity and inclusion. What did it mean to you to have received this award?
That was a great honor because I do what I do because I love it, you know. I love working with the students. I love having them over. I love, you know, helping and guiding them through, you know, through this path of college. And so, yeah, to be recognized in that manner, I thought was yeah, it was a big honor, and it was nice. It was nice. That's all I can say. I love the students. I love helping them and being part of their journey here. And so, yeah, being recognized for that was very nice.
So to measure diversity in an organization, the obvious answers are statistical. How many underrepresented minorities are part of the organization, or what is the gender balance between men and women? But how do we go beyond numbers? In other words, I want to ask your thoughts. What does true diversity mean to you?
Diversity. The classic answers, it's inclusion, equity, making sure that students who need certain things are being provided those things to be successful. It's a sense of belonging as well, and our new vice provost says this a lot, having that sense that they belong here and that they can call Purdue home, or that it's a good fit for them. For us, I think it's, at least for me as well, it's for everyone to feel like the Polytechnic is part of their home. It's where they belong. So, for example, like I am one of the advisors for the Minority Technology Association and Women Technology, and the Minority Technology Association just had their I Have a Dream wall that they do every year. It's a Martin Luther King with all those things, and they do that every year. And it's not just for diverse students, it's for all students, because we all have dreams. We all, want to make the world a better place. We all want to graduate, or whatever it is that they're, going through, whatever that dream may be. And so to have that sense that we're all part of a big family, and all of us are needed to continue to go forward, to be successful, and we all have something to contribute. So it's not just, I'm Black or I'm Hispanic or I'm whatever. I am a student at the Polytechnic with these ideas and with these things to bring to the table, or to the world, or whatever it may be. So and I think that's the key thing, is that everyone feels that they belong and they have something to contribute, and they're recognized for that contribution in the classroom, as a faculty member, as whatever it may be that they're in, that they're respected for who they are and what they bring, no matter what that is.
What is a practical thing that any of us could do, whether faculty, staff, or student, to help the people next to us feel that sense of belonging?
Sometimes, we get busy in our lives and we get going and we don't stop. And sometimes it's to smell the flowers or whatever it is. But, saying hello to someone, hey, introducing yourself, being cordial and being kind, and helping each other out. Not assuming, this student is here because they're Hispanic or Black or whatever. As an instructor or as another student, know that everybody has that part to contribute, and letting them, asking them, hey, will you be part of my group? Being inclusive, and asking them to be, because sometimes when you're the only one, it can be scary. When you're the only female, when you're the only African American, when you're the only Latino in the class. Most of our students really have to be confident, a little assertive, because, we don't know everything that they may encounter. So if you are part of the majority, be welcoming and be kind, and make them feel welcome, and make sure that they know that they belong.
Toni, looking back over your career, can you tell us about one student who you've made a meaningful connection with, who you've perhaps kept in touch with over the years?
Just one? I have many.
That's neat. That's really neat.
Really. Just the other day, I had a student that graduated in 2008, and she was going to be here on campus, and she called me. 2008, that's 10 years ago. And she said, I'm going to be, I think she was going to a football game or something. And I said, oh, definitely, let's have lunch or let's meet. And then I got her to come to my class. And so it was just really, really cool. But I've been invited to students' weddings. I've been invited to, I have a son that lives in Houston, and I have one of my favorite students, but there's lots of them. And I was able to call her and say, hey, I'm in Houston visiting my son. Can we get together? And we had dinner together, and it was just awesome. Awesome. But yeah, I've got lots of those students, and it's really cool to see students that have come to our like total camp, team camp over the summer when they were 7th and 8th graders, and then they're here, they end up applying, or they actually come then to do it in Vision, and then they apply, they're admitted, and then they're in my class, and so you build that relationship, and it's just, and then they graduate and get married, and so you feel like, I feel kind of like their Purdue mom in a way. I feel like, they're part of my kids. It's cool.
That's fantastic.
Toni, you've spent most of your career as a Boilermaker.
Yes.
Whether studying or working in the various roles you've had on campus.
Yes.
What's your favorite thing about Purdue? Why do you get up in the morning and come into work with a smile on your face as you always do? What motivates you to keep doing that after all these years on campus?
Because I feel like I make a difference. This is a tough question. I love what I do, and I'm thinking about retirement, believe it or not. And so I told my kids just recently, I said, I think it's going to be hard to retire because I love what I do. I love the students. I love making a difference in their life. I love when they come over and say, hey, Miss Toni, how you doing? Sometimes I get little notes from someone say, I stopped by to say hi, how are you, Miss Toni, or whatever it may be. And so, you've made lifelong friends. You've made a difference for people forever, kind of. So I think that's why. And I'm a Boilermaker, true and true. One of my sons said it best. We've lived here for a long time, and when he was, I think, a teenager, probably 13, 14 years old, he said, his cousin went to Michigan and invited him to go to the Michigan-Ohio State game. That's a big game. And my son said he was at the game, and he looked around, and he said, I don't care who wins. It doesn't matter. I love Purdue. I'm a Boilermaker. And that's when he realized that he wanted to come to Purdue, because it didn't matter which of those teams won. But for Purdue, it did matter. So that's kind of, and I think that's it. I am a Boilermaker, and I love Purdue.